Hello.
Hello, folks. Hello there. Hello, Neil. How are you today?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you, Clive? You
We're
well?
we're good. Right on the button at 10 a.m. This is fantastic. We are absolute pros as ever, showing our abilities to be absolute masters of technology. But look at this is the bonus and the benefits of going live, folks. If you're joining us slightly late, that's fine. That's on us. But we're delighted that you're here. So happy Friday, and thank you very much for tuning in. Today is podcast episode number 6 of Making Finance Fun. And in today's episode, we are going to be talking about all things digitalizing your business. This is a topic I'm really excited to talk about. I'm going to get lots of fun and value out of today. And I have the best man sitting beside me in the chair to talk about all things digitalizing as well. Neil. Neil, good morning. How are you, sir?
I'm good, thank you. Slightly cooler the last couple of days, so I don't feel like I'm melting in my office chair, which I don't know what it's been like over in the Emerald Isle, but it's been swelteringly hot in the southwest of the UK this week.
Will you quit, please? Because we had like one day, it was like super warm. It's like 24 degrees. And it's like, we're getting a week of this. It's like, yes, brilliant. And then the weatherman comes on at 9 o'clock in the evening. He's like, yep, it's gone. It's gone.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Well, to be fair,
Uh,
we had 2 or 3 days, and then I'm looking outside. It's a bit sunny today, but it's a lot cooler, so at least we can take the dog out for a walk.
Brilliant. And come here to me. Tell me this. Apart from the weather, what's been happening with you since we last spoke? Because we had a really cool podcast the last time in episode 5 of talking with Ryan. So what have you been up to since then?
I've been watching some football. So Euro
Oh,
started. So been watching England play magnificently over the last couple of weeks amongst some other teams. Yeah, what have I got up to? I can't believe it's been 2 weeks for a start. It seems to have flown by. So I've kind of alluded to a little bit over the last, I don't know, couple of months. You would have seen it on my 30-day video challenge if you've been checking that out. But we've had an ongoing project which has involved kind of some legal shenanigans, all in a positive way. That completed yesterday. So I will be sharing some exciting information regarding NDC version 3.0 next week, hopefully early next week, maybe Monday, Tuesday. So that was pretty exciting to kind of get that over the hill. That's felt like a lifetime ago since we started that project. I spoke at the Business Advisory Masterclass for Mark Wickersham's Value Pricing Academy. So that was Tuesday, and it was a 3-day conference. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and I did a speaking slot on Tuesday. So that was amazing to do. I think that's the third one that I've done for him now. I think I referenced it last episode as well. Um, Went to London for a client meeting. Saw a couple of Aussies there. So one of them had come all the way from Melbourne. The other one's based in London. So yes, a guy that I'd met on Zoom a few times. He travelled all the way across from Melbourne to kind of be in Europe for about 3 or 4 weeks. But yeah, it was a good opportunity for me to go across London to meet him. And we just started a new project locally in the community with an organisation called Reset Western-super-Mare, which essentially they are. So there's two owners of the organisation. One is an ex-school teacher, and the other one is, I think she was kind of involved in youth offending, or certainly kind of in sort of child protection, that kind of area. And they've combined to create an organisation to basically help kids that are being failed from the education system, trying to get them up to speed with reading and writing, and looking to develop them via different kind of initiatives and projects, typically outside of a school environment. So I'm starting doing some work with those guys. We've got an awards ceremony in July that I'm attending. We're sponsoring an award, and yeah, it'd be really cool to see 200 kids at various degrees of disadvantage to champion them and to try and make a difference. So it's been a busy 2 weeks, mate. Very busy 2 weeks. How about you?
I think that's I think that's, yeah, I'll come to that in a second, but I think that's absolutely a huge initiative. And I know from personal experience and growing up and stuff like that, having the support and the backing of people who can give you a lift when you think that there's no such thing as or options available to you is huge. The impacts that has on young kids' lives is just absolutely massive. So yeah, follow that one, stick with that one. That's going to be very rewarding, both for you, the organization, and for the kids themselves. So what we've been up to, yeah, I can't believe it's been 2 weeks already. It's ridiculous. The time is flying by. Too good. So we must be enjoying this because we wouldn't do it if we weren't enjoying it, right? And the time's
Well,
flying by.
exactly, and I can see on Facebook in my group, I can see Joanna and a Christian. So hello to both of you joining live. And I think I've written a comment. If you've got any questions, feel free to shout away. If you're watching this on repeat, then ask us a question anyway, and we'll ask it in a future episode. But yeah,
Yeah,
good to see some people live on the stream this morning.
I can't see anybody. So Neil, if you can filter questions through, that would be brilliant.
I will.
So what I've been up to the last couple of weeks? Well, this week we've done a webinar for the ACCA, my accounting regulatory body, in conjunction with QuickBooks Online, where we're looking at advanced reporting within QuickBooks and how you can use those reports to help your clients and give some insights and just help them with their business and know their numbers. So we're also trying to plan for the second QuickBooks Online event here in Ireland. That's going to be in 2 weeks' time on the 11th of July. So if you're based in Ireland, you're an accountant and bookkeeper that's tuning in, you're using QuickBooks or not using QuickBooks, come along. It's a half day from 1 o'clock onwards till 6. And we got drinks and fancy food at the end of it. And you get to hear some pretty cool stuff about digitalizing your accounting practices at that event. So it's kind of linked to what we're going to be talking today, but we're talking today from a business point of view. And that's really it. The kids are home from school for the next 2 months. It's summertime. We've cleaned out a serious amount of Lego. There's about, I don't know, hundreds of euros worth of Lego getting into putting into boxes and stuff like that. So that's what's happening at the minute.
You
I can
you
see comments. Hello, Kim. I didn't think that would work. Brilliant. I can see
I,
comments on my Facebook group too.
I just say a good morning to Sean as well, who's joined us live. In terms of your kids and school, so they've broken up for the summer holidays already.
Yeah, so my eldest is 14 and he's in secondary school. I don't know what you call that in the UK.
Same.
Um, all right, okay. So he breaks like at the end of May because our state examinations are the first week in June. So secondary school. So he's off for 3 months. And our primary school for the little kids finish at the end of June and go back at the end of August. So they get like 2 bloody months off.
Okay.
Two.
I don't think mine break up until. I'm sure it's not for another like couple of weeks. I'm sure it's like early to mid July. I could be wrong, but I mean they're at school now, so
Yeah, yeah, it's ridiculous. Right, let's get back to why we're here. And this is going to be pretty cool. So, as the title of episode 6 says, we're going to be talking about digitalizing your business. And I'm going to enjoy this because I'm a bit of a geek when it comes to technology and gadgets and all of these sort of things, especially when it comes to efficiency and finding time and getting that back, right? So, I want to have a look at the digitalizing for small and medium businesses because um, this term digital transformation is the new key buzzword since probably COVID anyway, okay? And some people are afraid of it, and there's really no need to be afraid of it whatsoever. What we're talking about here is implementing new technologies, new ways of work, but ultimately what we're looking at is rethinking our mindset around how we are operating our business. And we're going to be having a look at why this is important, the key drivers behind it, the benefits, some of the challenges. We're going to provide some case studies on examples of how we have managed to help some of our clients with their digital transformation or introduce that within their business. And so, hopefully, through the case studies and the information and the talks and the chats we're going to have, you're going to come away with some actionable insights that you could start implementing into your business for this year and see the big rewards by the end of the year. So, Neill, from your point of view, what does digitalizing your business mean to you, and why do you think it's so important for business owners out there?
Um, I guess the main thing is not dealing with paper or kind of anything sort of tangible or physical. So, I guess kind of steering us towards our profession, and I think we're still in the minority, which we talked about in episode 4 in terms of being a modern accountant. But there are, and we will go into, I'm sure, like the myriad of efficiencies that can be had when you do something digitally as opposed to physically. And I think the tech is advancing kind of daily, and if you don't use tech or if you don't adapt in some way, shape, or form, then undoubtedly you'll be left behind. And I think in order to survive, there's more, I guess, more small businesses around now than ever. With COVID, people working from home, being made redundant, starting their own businesses, it's becoming more common, and therefore there's probably going to be more competition. So the more that you can adapt with the times, in my opinion, and use technology and digitalize your business, the better. And it's not going to be for absolutely everyone. You're going to really struggle to, digitize creating a chicken curry and serving it in an Indian restaurant. But having said that, there are restaurants out there using technology in terms of ordering, in terms of ordering at the table via the waiter, but in terms of ordering systems, in terms of stock, and managing financials. So that there's a whole myriad of things that they could do from a digital perspective, even though they're a kind of a physical bricks and mortar business. So yeah, I think in terms of what I think it means and what I think like where we're going, I think it's massively important.
I think there's a great opportunity here, and this is where the real value add is. To me, there's two key areas. Number one is going about efficiencies, giving you a competitive edge, building an agile business, being that robust business, right? But number two, the customer experience, right? Ultimately, how we differentiate ourselves is becoming a lot more difficult as Neill has mentioned, more and more people are starting their own business. The level of competition is getting higher, so therefore that need and to differentiate yourself from everybody else who does the same thing can be done by digitalizing your practice. So take the takeaway business for example, right? How can you make the customer experience a lot better? Well, for example, the pizza tracker, right? A simple app, you order online, it's super easy to do. But what does annoy you the most about when you order food and get it delivered? When is it going to get delivered? That's the biggest problem. Simple bit of piece of technology. We've received your order, it's on the way, and then how close it is to getting to you. That removes that kind of annoyance and frustration about the experience. So there's a really good example. Little piece of technology in your business, even for a takeaway business, can help improve that customer experience, which means that you're different from every other takeaway, which means that that customer is going to come back to you again and again and again. Not for the food, well, probably actually for the food, but also for the experience that they've just had as well. So that's what we want to have a look at here. That's kind of like what we want to try and get through to across in today's episode. Okay, so benefits. Then let's have a quick chat about the benefits. Why would you bother looking at digitalization, right? Um, for me, we're talking about automation of tasks. So for years, I've always said that there is three key questions I always ask myself when it comes to what we do in our business and operations, right? Number one, I call it, what is the phrase? Eliminate, automate, and delegate. I'm sure you've heard this phrase before. Eliminate, automate, and delegate. Have a look at what you do, and any activities you do that's repetitive and doesn't add value, delete them, eliminate them. Anything else, you can automate them. And if you can't eliminate and automate, then you delegate those tasks. And as a business owner, that helps you add more efficiencies and lets you concentrate on the business. Neill, have you seen any other benefits for businesses that are digitalizing?
Yeah, I mean, I would just say Chris is just posting the Facebook group saying that he could go for a digital chicken curry right now. So maybe we've started a new trend. I don't know. um, Look, I think you mentioned it before about kind of automation, and I'd kind of go one step further and say, well, it's instant, right? So like instant data capture. So as an example, I was off site yesterday at a prospect meeting, probably about 30, 40 miles away. On the way back, I stopped in Tesco's to get some lunch. I also got some fuel, got the receipt, took a picture of the receipt with my phone. That then integrated with Xero, our accountancy platform. The cost went straight into my accountancy platform, and it's now sat there waiting for the transaction to come out of my bank so I can then match it with that transaction. Um, I didn't need to wait till I got back to the office to do that. I didn't need to manually type something into a system from the receipt in order to do that. I didn't need to scan the receipt into another system, or I didn't need to, um, you know, uh, kind of duplicate sort of that process. It was literally just phone in the car, take a picture, and it's done. It's directly into my accountancy system. Um, and the advantage for me of that is that, well, it's clearly a lot quicker than having a box full of receipts and invoices that you've then got to trawl through. But because that is instant data capture, you've got real time information to then understand things like income, expenses, profit, tax liabilities, performance of the business. So there's a level of automation within that, but I think just the sheer ability to supercharge the timing of getting that information into a system can then enable me to say, well, okay, so I spent £4 on a lunch and £50 on fuel. I move my budget now for food. So next time I go out on a client visit, I'm just going to go a bit hungry because I've got no more money in my budget for having a lunch when I'm out. I'm being a little bit like silly with that, but do you know what I mean? It's giving me the ability to make a real time decision that will then have a future impact on hopefully the positivity of the business. So I think for me, like unless you can do that via technology, via digitally, I mean, it's impossible to understand to make these kind of macro decisions if you're doing everything based on paper or in a non-digital way.
Yeah, absolutely. I think what you're pointing to there at is that you have a digital or a technological tool that provides you with a way of doing something very simple, something that's very easy to do, something that's automated. But ultimately, what it does is provides you with what would you call it? The insights, and from there you can take action on those insights, and that can, like, we're going to probably talk a lot about from an accounting point of view and bookkeeping and how to streamline that, but you can also expand that out. Like, you can look at your CRM, go back to your takeaway business. How often does that customer order that food? Right? What does that tell you? Who your customers are, where they're based, and what type of food that they like. So you can help with your ordering. It reduces your obsolete or your wastage from your stock and things like that. So this is about using tools in the right way. And sometimes you don't know what the right questions are until you have those conversations. And even then, you might even know what the right tools are. And that goes back to last week's episode with Ryan, where we were talking about, if you're not really good at something in particular in your business, that doesn't mean you can't do it. That means you reach out to somebody like ourselves, who are both digital accountants, IT, geeky, and techie, and we have those conversations and help our businesses where the opportunities are. So loads of benefits. Makes you more competitive, gets you closer to your customer, gives you really good data. And I know Neill is absolute a fan of data everywhere. And it gives you really good actionable insights as a result of that. So there's some really good benefits. But ultimately, it can help you differentiate you from your competition. Look, that's not to say, folks, that there's challenges. Excuse me. There's challenges and risks around what we do in terms of digital transformation. It's not to say you should be afraid of it or walk away from it, because ultimately your business will need it. That's for sure. Um, but there is ways we can reduce those risks. Sort of risks that I'm talking about is that the the mindset, as I said at the beginning, needs to be reshaped because people can, your staff, for example, your customers, maybe your suppliers can reject what you're trying to do. So communication is really important on that. Looking at where you are currently, your digital maturity, if you want to call it that, where you're at the minute and where you could be at. And what does that roadmap look like to get you there? So having somebody by your side to help you frame this conversation and the strategy that needs to go with it is really, really important. Um, but when we talk about challenges and risks, I really just don't see how they can be of such high degree that you won't go down this road. Neill, like, do you think of anything that's a challenge to businesses that they need to take into consideration before they start a digital transformation project or journey?
Yeah, I think some of the common like misconceptions are around things like storage. So, I mean, we're talking about technology and digitization predominantly within the cloud, as we do nowadays. But I was with a business yesterday that does everything on desktop with servers. So it doesn't mean they're not digitized or technologically advanced. It just means that perhaps they're doing things in a slightly kind of older school way. But storage. If you are having something that's server based, storage could be an issue. I guess downtime, and again, more predominantly towards server based technology than cloud. But if something goes wrong, or if you've forgotten a log on for a piece of software or something, then that could restrict you from doing the work, and I guess kind of associated downtime with that could be a risk. And there's theft as well, I guess. Like, cybersecurity is a big thing at the moment. There's lots of hackers around looking at sort of ingenious ways to try and get people to hand over sensitive information, whether that be financial or personal. We see it all the time with people purporting to be Companies House or HMRC, and they're sending letters or they're sending emails, text messages, asking people to click on links and all that kind of thing. So there's a very real threat of theft and the nervousness around, I guess, data getting into the wrong hands. But like, there's ways to combat that, whether that be encrypting data or having two-factor authentication, or there's other things that we can do with digital data storage. Whereas if you've got like a box of receipts or invoices or sensitive information that is paper based in an office, if that office catches fire, or if somebody breaks into your office and steals that data, well, that's it. There's no kind of further protect. You can lock it in a safe. There's things that you can do to, I guess, protect the tangible stuff. But at the end of the day, once it's gone, especially with a fire, once it's gone, it's gone. And having no backups digitally or with technology is a very big risk. Probably even bigger risk than kind of the cybersecurity side of things. So yeah, I think those are the kind of things that I see crop up quite a bit from people.
Actually, think about that. It's strange for me because I visited my old the firm I trained in. I visited them this week, and I had a good catch up. By the way, it was brilliant. I haven't been back in the offices in about 20 years, and they had an old typewriter in the reception area. I was like, oh my god, what is going on here? Like, and there's paperwork everywhere. There's files there, and I was like, literally walked back in the door when I was 21. It was very, very odd. Uh, but yeah, look at in terms of the challenges, there is a lot of experience and methods and tools out there to help protect your business in a digitalized world. That is for sure, and it's about keep your passwords, to have your backups now, even cloud backups, in case somebody does something stupid and deletes all the transactions. Your cloud backups
Mm.
have backups now, which is fantastic, and it should be standard anyway. But look, that's part of the conversation and the strategy and the plan you put into place. So when it comes to implementing digital solutions, I suppose what would be what's your starting point, and what sort of factors or topics do you think we need to consider? in starting to implement these digital solutions?
Kind of want to like map out all your processes like at the like tiniest teeny weeny bit of detail. So I don't know whether it's client onboarding, whether it's like for us how to do a VAT return, or something kind of like rudimentary like that. Like what are the building blocks? Like what are the templates that you use? What's the communication that you need? What's the input? What's the output? What's the review process? What's the payment process? So kind of like stitching together absolutely everything that's required, and then say, well, how can if I don't use technology at the moment in order to enable me to do this, like what can each step benefit from by putting in technology? But I think it is very much kind of like that spider web sort of analogy of just like taking every single thing that you do in the business, and not every business has, I guess, processes or systems. So I think you need to start from point one and go, what is it that we do? Is it a service? Is it making a product? Um, like, is it a takeaway? Is it like a beauty business? Like, what is it that you do fundamentally? And then within what you do, so like making a chicken curry, like what goes into making a chicken curry? Well, it's not just making the product, right? It's sourcing the ingredients. It's about the client experience. It's about the cooking of the product. It might be about the delivery of the product. It might be about the advertising of the product. So like absolutely every single thing that you can think of in your business, and then kind of take a step back and go, that's a lot, because I don't think you realize until you do that activity exactly what goes into every single little thing that you do. It might seem like a really small task, but when you break it down into its constituent parts, I think you'll probably realize that businesses are relatively complex, even if you think that yours is not. And then it's like, yeah, okay, so this is what I do. How can digitalizing, or how does technology enable me to do this quicker and more accurate? I think these are the two key things, like efficiency and effectiveness, because that will enable you to save money on costs. It will enable you to increase your revenue, and it will enable you to give a better client experience. But I think like the challenge of doing that is just, yeah, that could feel like a bit of a bomb in terms of thinking, if you've never thought that way before, to kind of break all those processes down. I don't know what you think, mate, but I think like for me, like when I started, it was very much, what does each and every workflow entail? What do I need to do for a VAT return? And then create like a checklist or like a workflow routine that says these are the building blocks of how to do this. And then it's like at that point, when you absolutely nail down what you do, it's like, how does how can I make this better? What tech is there on the market? What software? What app? Like, does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And like it can be a little bit overwhelming at the start, I suppose, when you get into this and you think, wow, this can go like a foot deep, it can go 6 foot deep, it can go as deep as you want it to go, right? So what's really important, I suppose, from my point of view, what we normally do, or we, there's like loads of me, is we have conversations and we ask them, go, what's annoying you? What's absolutely just a big bugbear for you in your business at the minute? And 9 times out of 10, the answer is time. I'm flat out. I'm working so hard. I started a business to get time, to have a quality of life, and now that I do have that business, I have less time than I ever did in the past. And you go, well, what is it that you're doing that's taking up so much of your time? And when you start diving into it, you go, okay, we can automate that. Yeah, you can delegate that. Actually, why are you doing that? Eliminate it. Yeah. That's no value. You're just repeating that process again. Like, for example, right? We get into case studies in a couple of minutes, right? I had a client there who's handwriting all his sales invoices, and at the end of the month, he was then handwriting a, a customer statement. Like, why? Right? Stick him on the QuickBooks, right? Not only did he stop writing the bloody invoices, he then delegated them as well. So he delegated and automated it as well, which is brilliant. You know what I mean? So that's being a business owner. So we released that pain from him, and he's now a weekend every month back for himself. That's what it's about, right? lean in on that technology. But like when it comes to implementing um, digital solutions, know what your pain points are. We'll try and find a solution for that. Whether it's cash flow, whether it's time, whether it's lack of customer leads, whatever it may be, or you want to improve that customer experience, the opportunities are endless. But what's really important is probably pick a couple of projects, not a lot of them, but those that give you the biggest wins first, right? As the old term would be, the low hanging fruit, right? Once you've got that, then we can figure out what tools you need to have in place and what technologies you want to put in there. Okay. So for customers, that might be CRM. For your accounting, it could be like say QuickBooks or Zero. Or for stock management, it might be an ERP system or something similar to that. But there is tools out there. Okay. But it's about having conversations about what you want, what's your biggest bugbears, where can we get the quickest wins, and what technology or tools that we need to do to implement that. Oh, but just to add one last piece to that, communication and training is essential. It's absolutely essential for the adoption and the acceptance of any change in the business. So, Neill, when it comes to digital tools, do you have any favorites for your business, or has your clients got any favorites that come back and go, Neill, that is just brilliant. I love it.
How long have I got? I could, I could waffle on for a while. I would say actually, good morning, Ryan. Ryan's joined us this morning. He said, I've just caught up with some comments. Ryan said, totally agree. It can feel scary, but we need to embrace and learn tech. And I think when I come back to like putting a process map for all of your individual constituents of your business, that can feel quite, I guess, time consuming and sort of mind boggling, especially if you're busy like being in the business and doing the stuff, especially if you're on your own like a solopreneur. But sometimes the tech is kind of that further hurdle. And yeah, I agree with you, Ryan. I think my tech stack I'll come on to in terms of a couple of new tools I've started using, but it was quite flat for a few years. A, because I was super busy, and B, because things were kind of working as they were. But now I've started using a couple of new tools. Things are working even better. I'm saving even more time. But sometimes you just got to rip that band-aid off and just back yourself to learn the stuff. Not everything will work for sure. But yeah, so thank you for that comment, Ryan. And he's also said communication is an essential part of giving a great experience for clients and your teams. So you could have all the tech in the world, like your analogy earlier, Clive. If you deliver a crap chicken curry, chances are, or a pizza, if the pizza tracker was amazing, but the food was not very good, then the chances are they probably won't get that customer back. So it has to be, the customer experience has to be like front and center as well. But I guess, yeah, like a couple of tools that I've been using recently. So one is called Otter, OTTER, was called Otter.ai. When I went to the digital accountancy show in London a couple of months ago, I saw a speaker there called Jason Stats. He's from America. I follow him quite excessively. Some may say stalkerishly, if that's a word, on YouTube. And I don't think he owns his firm anymore, but he was a firm owner. I think he's probably in his early to mid 30s, quite young. And he has totally embraced tech and AI, and he now does a whole series of podcasts and resources all around kind of the modern accountancy firm. And he did an episode probably a month or so ago about tools that he uses, like top 16, 20 tools or something. And one of them was called Otter.ai, and it's basically a transcription tool. Now, I've been thinking about transcription stuff for a while because I've got my iPad in front of me for my meetings. So I jump onto a client call, or if I'm out and about with a client, I write on my iPad the notes. That then synchronizes with my OneDrive so that when I get back into the office, the notes file is there sat in the respective client folder. Now, that may seem quite sort of tech enabled. But I was still finding that I was trying to write notes whilst having a discussion, especially on a video call as well. And the kind of the further point around that was things like doing this podcast and some of the other video content that I do, and transforming that into blog posts and I was listening to some of my kind of short form content and basically writing notes about the short form content to then create a blog post. And I thought, this is just crazy. So I heard about Otter.ai as this transcription tool, and I tested it out, and I used it a couple of times, and I just upgraded to the pro license straight away because it was just absolutely mind blowing. So the first kind of experience with it was I had a video call with a client, and I don't know, it was like a half an hour, 45-minute call. And Otter AI has kind of, it's a bit like a bot that joins in on your video call. And what it does, it listens and it records everything to do with that video call. Um, when the video call finished, probably within, I don't know, 10 minutes, I'd had an email from Otter AI in my inbox. It had the full transcription of the meeting. So like it could identify when there was different voices talking. I think there was four of us on the call. So it understood and put a name next to everybody that spoke. It also had a summarized version, so it used AI to take that full transcription and to summarize it in probably like 2 or 3 paragraphs in terms of the main features of that call. And then it understood, get this, it understood when we had a task to do, and so therefore it collated actions to take, and it allocated an action to a person based on who spoke about that action and who it was delivered to. That then was emailed to all of the attendees of that meeting, and then I've got like a digital file that I can just stick onto OneDrive in that client folder. So I didn't have to take any notes. That was all done for me. And I was just absolutely mind blown at the fact that, we've now got, each of us got these action points to deliver on, and they've got the full transcription, so we know what was said in the meeting. There's no one forgetting anything. I don't have to distribute my hand drawn rubbish meeting notes. And then I did an episode of. I didn't do an episode of the podcast initially. I think I did one of my monthly roundups. And again, full transcription. Take that away. Put that into ChatGPT, which I'm sure we'll come on to in a minute. Kind of cut that down a little bit. Put it into my own tone of voice a little bit more. And there you go. That was my blog post for the website, for Facebook. I think I put it on all around the monthly roundup, along with the associated video. So that's like one of my massive. I've waffled a lot. That's one of my massive wins recently. Something as simple as, because transcription services, I guess, people could do that in the past as a more of a manual exercise. You could maybe get a freelancer to do transcription for you, but for the price of, I think it was $240 for the year, so like 200 quid, maybe like, I don't know, £15 a month. I mean, the amount of time that's going to save me is just, it's going to be absolutely like, if I can't find £15 a month worth of time savers in that, I'm not using it right. It's just like incredible, like amazing. I love it.
That's what I say to people when we have these conversations is like, well, how much do you value your time per hour? I weigh that up against the cost of these digital tools and then go, okay, so if that saves you like 12 hours a week, right? And you value your time at, I don't know, let's just say 100 quid, just, I would say 50 quid actually, maybe an hour. Like that's 600 quid saving a week, right? In time value to you. So why wouldn't you, like that's a week, right? That's 2,400 a month. There's your budget. Go spend it. So like guys, there is lots of tools out there like for digitalizing your business. Like just give you some quick examples, right? Cloud accountants. Here we go. Right. So there's a cloud. I had a client who had a cloud accountants practice. All right, and they operated two retail stores, and they had an EPOS till, and they had QuickBooks, and you think, wow, this is brilliant. And then you realize everything's done in Excel, right? The end of day totals and everything is done in Excel. They would email the cloud accountants the Excel sheet every month. They would do a sales journal, and that's how they recorded sales in QuickBooks. So we got rid of that. We implemented a link between your till and QuickBooks, and everything went in there automatically every night. Broken down by product and who the salesperson was and everything. And he's like, Clyde, this is brilliant. He goes, I have an extra 5 hours a week now to do some drinking and get more pints and stuff like that. So he really appreciated that. But like he was with a cloud accounting firm and just didn't understand technology, which is crazy to think. But anyway, Other examples, we have a client who's heavily involved in online selling. They have a number of different platforms. They've got Amazon UK, EU, eBay Ireland, eBay worldwide. They have Stripe, they have PayPal, they have their own website. They get sales in there, they manage stock. Oh my God, they have Stripe as well. They have everything, right? And and this person was being killed with time trying to reconcile everything, and they're really good at keeping everything reconciled. We put them onto one tool. We put them onto Dex Commerce, connected everything up, had a meeting or two with the guys in Dex Commerce about writing specific code. They didn't charge for it. They did it. That's part of the service. They map certain VAT products, VAT codes. If money came in, I think if they duplicated a sale on eBay, it went through their website, so got rid of duplicates. Dex Commerce did all of that. Saves them tons of time every week. Reconciliations are up to date every week. Loads of time back. Another good example, just how we can use technology in the business for operations. Another client, they're in the print business, so they sell photocopiers and things like that. So the way they do their billing is that they can see in a piece of software how many copies you've printed out or photocopied, and they would do their billing based on that. So like 2 cents per page or something like that. And they had QuickBooks, but they would spend like 2 days a month doing manual invoices. I've spoken about this before. It's the biggest win I've seen to date. That's 24 days a year, literally doing manual invoices. So we got the software over here that reads what's on the printer. We got QuickBooks here, and we've nothing in the middle. And what we did was we found a piece of software. They spent like 15,000 euros on that software, and it sat for like 2 years not getting connected and implemented. And all I did came along, put in a project plan, put in some milestones, some deadlines. The guys did the work, they got it set up. And I just remember it was January a couple of years ago, got a phone call, Clive, it's working, it's incredible. And now that person has the equivalent of 1 month back. And what we do now every 6 months is we work on another piece of their business and automate bit by bit. So when it comes to tools, guys, there's loads of tools. So it's not just accounting. If you look at project management, so I deal with a lot of construction and trade clients. And one of the key problems is I don't know what project is where and who's doing what and where is Jimmy and is that job done or not done. So you can introduce project management tools. So you got likes of Trello, Asana to project manage. You can use them for your own business if you're not even in trades. If you want to keep a track of your quotes and stuff like that, you can use Simpro, you can use Tradeify. If you're a big construction company, you want to make sure that materials are coming in, they're three-way matched and they're booked in, you can use something like livecost.com. There's loads of tools here that are available. But you're not going to hear normal accountants talk about all the techie tools that are available for businesses unless you're talking to accountants like myself and Neill. When it comes to like communication, like Neill, I know you use Slack, right? And I use Teams to communicate with all our team members and stuff like that. We can set up meetings, we can do video calls, things like this. But when it comes to
we're actually funny you should say that we're moving from Slack. We're going on to Teams probably in the next week. So yeah, Slack is really good, but their notification system is a little bit hit and miss. So yeah, we're going on for going on to Teams for messaging as well.
That's a very good point. It's ever evolving. It is always changing. There's not like set and forget. It's about what's the next best thing. Isn't that it, really,
I've got a couple of questions coming, Clive, if you're feeling brave to answer. So Ryan has asked, where did you get the phrase digital maturity from? Because he liked that phrase.
Digital maturity. I just read too many articles and watched too many people talk about digital transformation. And
it's not a Cliveism, is it?
No. And I've been when I worked as an accountant in business, we worked on digital projects around implementing ERP systems. So you were part of that kind of like you're the advocate for the business from the finance point of view, and you'd have an operations guy, and you'd have a marketing guy, and a sales guy. That would be the ERP implementation team. And the consultants would come in and would say, right, we need to assess your digital maturity. It's like, there's another business term, isn't it? We just
um,
overinflate her importance. But anyway,
I know,
that's not what I
yeah,
mean.
sort of technical jargon. Um,
In other
uh,
words, how shit is your technology? Isn't that the right phrase to use?
yeah, exactly that. I've got a question here from Joanna. It's kind of across a couple of questions. Um, so she runs a piano teaching business and is 100% online. She's curious to hear what ideas that you have to, I guess, further digitize her business already, like more so than what it is already. And kind of, I guess, following on from that, even though she's thinking about digitizing her business more, she's receiving hesitance or reluctance from clients to follow the times in terms of her processes and her procedures. And she's finding that she's then spending time to then kind of go back to those clients to get them to use the tech in the right way. So, a bit of a two-pronged question. I don't know if you've got any thoughts on that.
It really depends what tech tools that she's using there at the minute, and maybe she could just add a bit more information, or we could come back to her as well. Um,
So I can add a little bit of context. So in terms of
oh,
the
okay.
in terms of the lessons, she does those over Zoom. And then in terms of, I guess, kind of the resources and the lesson plan, she has another piece of software. It's a kind of like a bit of a CRM tool where she can upload documents to, she can upload resources, she can write lesson plans. I'm sure she'll confirm, but I'm assuming it's getting her clients to use the CRM tool to figure out what they need to do by the lesson and what their homework is post the lesson so they're prepared for the next one and what resources that they need to use. I mean, in my opinion, for like a piano teacher, that's like really sort of tech enabled, a lot more than what you would classify as
Yeah.
kind of like a stereotypical like any sort of music teacher. But I guess what what could she do more to kind of, I guess, help the customers that she has?
Yeah, and listen, that to me goes back to the customer experience, right? About the pizza tracker thing, right? So maybe you're not using the right CRM system. Maybe you need to use more of an educational online platform to deliver that. Maybe something like Thinkific, Kajabi is another one as well. Maybe every time they complete a lesson and they get reward stars, or like you gamify. That's what I'm trying to say. You use technology to gamify the user experience or the customer journey and the customer experience, right? So if they watch a video and complete the lesson, get them to upload a short video, and then you get to appraise it or review it. And did they get 5 stars? Did they get 1 star? Did they up a level? Are they like master, elite? Give them badges, give them something as recognition for the work that's well done. Maybe just not the right tool that you're using. I think maybe that is it. And in addition to that, you kind of have an onboarding session with them about how do you use the tool and why it's good for them to use it in the first place as well, so they can see the benefits. And that is linked to their development for their piano skills.
I tell you what, mate. Like you said a word that I think hits the nail on the head, and that's gamify.
Gamify, yeah.
When I think about tech, when I think about some of the applications that I use, both in terms of business and personal, um, there are. I mean, look at Facebook for example. Like in the groups, like people that comment more often get a specific badge. New members get a badge. People that maybe share a lot of content get a badge. We see it with the likes of QuickBooks and Zero. You could be like a bronze, silver, gold, whatever kind of the tier of advisor that you are. There's ways to scale up and you get more rewards, you get more benefits as a result of that. Look at Apple Watches. It forever tells me to stand up if I haven't stood up for an hour. I need to hit that stat. I need to make sure that I've hit that stand target. It helps with my fitness and the step counter and stuff like that. But you can share that with other people that have Apple Watches, and you can almost create like a league table to see if you're better or worse. We've just taken out a health insurance policy for the team at work. They offer an Apple Watch as an incentive to join in their membership program, where you pay a monthly fee over, I don't know, 2 or 3 years. But if you do a certain amount of steps, then they issue you reward points, and those reward points pay for the monthly fee. So in theory, you could get an Apple Watch for absolutely free by hitting these targets. So and that gravitates that client to that healthcare provider because they're offering that, and other healthcare providers might just be making sure that you're covered for a doctor's visit or kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? So they're trying to make themselves stand out by gamifying what they do. So I think that's like a really important word, and I think it's, yeah. I mean, you see it everywhere.
And like, not saying that that's the perfect answer, but it's worth giving it a go and trialing it with some of your customers or piano clients and see if it works. Like this is what do we mean? There's no one right solution fits all. And I get that question a lot. Clive, what's the best accounting software out there? I don't know. There is none. It's just which one works best for
It's
you,
zero.
right?
It's
Because
zero. It's zero.
listen, we've seen on LinkedIn how boxing gloves can quickly go on between the blue camp and the green camp this week.
Yeah, yeah, but
Uh,
we say it tongue in cheek, Clive.
oh, crikey. Never mind. We'll move swiftly past that, right? If you know, you know. All right. That's fine. But we're going to move swiftly on with that. Yeah. So, look at technology, improving the customer experience is pretty important. Not only like from their experience of the product or service itself. But even before that, like for example, how we use technology here is quite important. It's a digital business. When we do a proposal, we email a proposal to the client, but I actually do a short video about explaining what we do and the services that we deliver. And a couple of months ago, a client came back and they're in the consultancy business and said, "Wow, that's pretty cool. I never thought of doing something like that. I'm going to adopt that and introduce that into our business." Short little video goes with the proposal. It says what we do, what we'll deliver, and how we'll do it. Very simple to do. It's little things like that that adds to that customer experience. Okay. And that can go right through to onboarding and right back to feedback forms. Yeah. Feedback, again, to Neil's point, is all about collecting data, providing insights, and that gives us a route to do something with those insights. So, any ideas around how you improved customer experience, Neil, from your end?
I guess it's difficult in a way for me to kind of offer a comparison because I've never been in a position where we were a paper based business or we didn't have at least a kind of rudimentary level of technology to help us deliver our service. But in terms of like what we've done the last couple of months, so I mentioned on a previous podcast episode the fact that we've just changed our CRM system, our workflow tool, and there are a couple of reasons why we did that. But one of the really interesting reasons that has kind of come out of the water, and I'm not massively surprised because it was something that was different, but we now have the ability to offer clients an app. So it's a client portal. Now they always had a client portal with the old system, but you had to go into a browser. You could do it on a mobile device. It was a little bit clunky, but it was through a web browser essentially, where you could review documents, sign off documents, kind of ask questions regarding documents. So it had a level of kind of usability, but it was pretty basic. This new system has an app that you can have on your iPad or your phone, and it's fully app enabled, iOS enabled, Android enabled. So it's built for mobile devices rather than just it being a web browser. It will alert you when things are there to review in terms of documents or kind of whatever. You can like review documents on the screen. It's all like the dimensions are all absolutely perfect. You can see everything clearly. You can accept a signature. You can decline it. You can come back with a question as to if something is an issue or like if you've got a question with it. And also it's got its own kind of like contact side of the app. So it has our phone number. You click the number on the app and it automatically gives a phone call into the office. It has our calendar link on it. So you click the link and it boots you up into our calendar technology, our calendar system, which again I've changed recently as well. So we use Motion now. We used to use Calendly, so people can book a meeting from opening the app, clicking the link, and it being booted into the calendar app. It's like seamless. It's like, and I think whilst we were tech enabled before in terms of how we worked, it's like elevated us a little bit more. Yeah, look, it's taken a lot of time to put that in place. It's taken some money. I've had to give that project to a member of the team. It's cost us to change things and how we do it, but it's more than offset by the really good feedback that we've had, and hopefully it'd be a very very long term solution for us. So yeah, that along with like the calendar system again. the calendar system that we now use has integrated AI. It helps me great because I've got lots of appointments and very, very busy, but I can move stuff around and it kind of auto schedules your calendar. And then you can alert people when you have meeting slots. If somebody wants to book a meeting, you can just click a couple of buttons and it shoots out a meeting link. Calendly did something similar, but it was nowhere near as advanced with the AI side of things. So again, I keep coming back to kind of the main point, like everything that we do from a business decision perspective, just being completely transparent. Two things. Number one, does it heighten the client service experience? Does it increase it? And number two, does it make my business more marketable when I want to come to exit? Like, can I delegate myself or delegate me away from doing that kind of stuff? And using technology and using AI and things like that. If it doesn't do it, we just we don't make that decision. We move on to the next one. But if it does do it, then we implement it straight away.
And that's kind of like two very important principles that every business should be considering. A business owner should be considering. Does it improve the customer experience, and does it improve the value of the business and what they do and how they do it, as well. There's a couple of key areas I want to have a quick chat about before we go, because we're almost in the hour. AI, ChatGPT, Claude, whatever you want to call them, they're all part of our lives now, okay? So I'm finding more and more as an accounting business owner, AI is playing a very important piece of what you do. And you've mentioned motion and how AI is able to move your calendar appointments around and identify when's a good time for you to have meetings and things like that. So that's pretty cool. From a business owner point of view, do you think AI has a role to play in other types of businesses as well out there?
What do you mean? What in terms of different industries, different services?
Yeah, so like if you like ultimately, right, the point of digitalizing your business is to provide you with data, and we know that ChatGPT and other AIs are brilliant with looking at data and providing recommendations, right? So say for example you're a restaurant business, you know, and you have QuickBooks Online for your accounting. You have an ERP system. There's a really good one in Ireland. I just can't remember it now for like cafes and restaurants. But I'm sure you'll be able to connect ChatGPT in there somewhere, or an AI that says, "Hey, Clive, you're our Mr. Business Owner. Your busiest time is between 10 a.m. and 12 p.m. Your most popular product between that time is tea and bacon sandwiches, you know." And then at the end of it, it says, "Look, based on the analysis that we've done, you need to order 10 packets of rashers for next week." So I think there's a real good opportunity here, to use and lean on AI within your business, not necessarily to replace staff or anything like that, but just to be more productive, be more proactive, be more ahead of the curve, differentiate yourself from the competitors, be more robust, be lean. Oh, geez, I could go on forever here, but
No, I agree.
um,
Yeah, I agree. I think, yeah, something I didn't really mention at the beginning in terms of the news section is that I have really spent a lot of time this week kind of finessing and developing my YouTube channel. Now that is something that's been sat there for a while. Like, I've uploaded a few videos too in the past, but I think, starting this podcast a couple of months ago has kind of really amplified what I'm really passionate about and what I really kind of want to do. And I know I messaged you last night about this, Clive, and the fact that I'm really enjoying doing this podcast, but it's kind of firing off these other things that says, well, okay, so like the calendar system that was kind of taking a bit of time, so we've revolutionised that, and the CRM system, kind of we've done that. We're looking at our proposal software. We're going to be changing up something around that within our sort of billing kind of payment system. So we're kind of doing these like little things within the business, but that's kind of more internally related. But in terms of like marketing and kind of using, I mean, going back to Otter, like, we can put a podcast episode through there, get a full transcription. We can create a good 3 or 4 descriptive kind of, description about like the episode covering like the main points. That is like super quick to do, but that could be like the description that goes on the YouTube video. So I've uploaded episode 1, the pilot episode that we did back in April. That's now gone on my YouTube channel. I've put a description on there. It's taken me no time really to write that description. I've finessed it a little bit, but it looks really cool. It looks really good. But that would have taken me a lot of time doing that freehand, listening back through the episode, doing a bit of transcription, doing a bit of rewording. Whereas, in reality, it's still taking a little bit of time to kind of chunk everything together, but it's been a lot quicker. And like my monthly roundups and the website blogs, and using something like ChatGPT. I mean, let's just be perfectly honest. ChatGPT is what, $20 a month, and you might think, well, $20, 18 quid. It's still a sum of money, but again, I challenge anybody to not spend that money and not get any benefit from it. You have to use it. I think you have to figure out what your use cases are for it. So for me at the moment, predominantly it's within marketing, and I use it to create a bit of imagery every now and then, some kind of AI digital images and stuff. But you know, it's kind of like relating that to the output. So now, I've put 4 or 5 videos now on Facebook, like the podcast episode, the podcast shorts that we've done, which, let me just reiterate, that was also, the shorts were also created with an AI piece of software called Opus Clip. Thank you to Clive for sorting that out. The transcription done with Otter AI and finessed in ChatGPT, 2 bits of tech. But what that does now is that as that builds up, and it's not going to be overnight, but that my YouTube channel, I would like to think over a period of time, is going to be stuffed to the rafters with amazing value, really interesting stuff for people to stumble upon, over and above what we do on Facebook and in the Facebook group where this episode is being beamed into now. So you got all these different sources going on. You got all of these descriptive words that you're generating from the episodes that you're then kind of like streamlining for things like SEO, kind of Google searches and kind of all that stuff that I don't really understand. But put into ChatGPT, what's the 5 most popular questions that people want to know about digitizing their business, create content that matches those popular questions, and then put that on the internet referencing those questions, and hopefully you're going to get more leads coming through because more people are going to search for those sorts of questions and they're going to be looking at your content. So yeah, I think like people are saying, what can I do to digitize my business more, or even kind of like from a standing start, what can I do to market my business? What can I do to get more customers? I think when you combine everything that I just said in the last kind of minute or two together, I genuinely think that any business in any industry, service or product, will be able to get some wins by doing that. But it's not going to happen overnight, and you've got to be consistent.
Yeah, I think when it comes to marketing, ChatGPT and these AIs are just absolutely amazing. The use case for us, for example, is we do a podcast, we do a video podcast, we use Opus Clip, and I upload it into Opus Clip, and it gives me like 30 short videos. I can go and edit them. So that saves me like a ton of time from having to rewatch and manually pick out clips I want to cut and paste and edit and trim and change the audio. So that's an hour's work that probably take a day or two. In addition to that, I suppose you can then take the transcript, you can create blogs from it, you can create posts from it as well. So you can create this massive amount of content. What's really important, folks, is just bear in mind when you're using ChatGPT for marketing purposes. I don't know if Kim is still with us here, but Kim messaged me a couple of weeks ago and said, don't copy and paste from ChatGPT into Facebook or LinkedIn because there's an AI tag with that copy and paste, and that's going to affect your SEO and your social media ranking, I suppose. Okay, so just be mindful of things like that. I hear the talk saying from a marketing point of view, there's so much AI marketing material being created. It's very hard to cut through all of that. So it has to be really genuine. It has to be yourself. So use it as a tool to generate this stuff, the content, but make sure it has your voice behind it afterwards. Okay. The other thing I suppose is like AI can be implemented into your operations. So say, for example, automation and AI connected together is starting to become a huge thing, using the likes of Zapier and Make.com, for example, where you're using webhooks and other kind of technical triggers to make actions happen. So, for example, maybe I have a client who's in the stone business. They make like bathrooms and kitchens for super yachts out of big massive lumps of marble and things like that. But he's created an app, and this app gives his clients updates of where their kitchen is at, or where their bathroom is, or the marble sushi bar that's like $500,000 for a cruise ship, right? And but imagine that if somebody on a project management tool clicked fabrication completed, that sent a message to the project management app, which then in turn sent a notification to the client, say, "Look, we're working really hard on this. By the way, fabrication's complete." That also updates the project tracker on the app for the client for them to view as well. That's what we call about being proactive and increasing that customer experience. So AI and automation, that like is just incredible, boundless opportunities. And if it's not for you, then make sure you get in touch with somebody who knows a little bit about these things as well.
I think having a play is quite important because most of these tools offer free trials, right? Like
Yeah,
ChatGPT, there is a free version. It's not quite as good, but it will give you ideas of what you could use it for. And using these tools in isolation will give you some benefits, or it will probably give you lots of benefits. But when you combine those tools with each other, like Otter for transcription, Opus Clip for doing the shorts, getting it onto YouTube, using ChatGPT for some descriptive stuff, like it turns into an absolutely massive superpower. Yes, like full versions will cost money. These things are typically on a monthly subscription, but like I say, there are trials and there are normally free versions of the software at a cut down kind of specification that will enable you to at least test the water.
absolutely. So there is two more areas I want to talk about, and we'll wrap it up really, really quickly, right? Just a very, very short comment about training and change management, especially around employees. So if you're a small, medium business with a number of employees, super, super important to have communication with them, but also training, okay? You could be like the whiz kid tech guy in the business and great ideas, but if you can't take your team along with you, it's just going to fall flat in its face, right? So, Neill, I suppose you've introduced a lot of changes into your own business recently. What's the communication been around? Like, how are you bringing the team along with you on this journey?
It's a question of we're changing this. Let's agree that we're going to do this and figure out how to do it after. No, like for me, uh, we tend to kind of have like informal brainstorming sessions, typically during like one to ones. So we're going to be doing some more group stuff as our team increases next week, which I will allude to next week. But in terms of like the messaging, it's kind of like, this is what we do right now. There is a tool or there is a process or there is something that we could do slightly differently that will change the way that we do things, but for the better. So it's going to involve a little bit of learning. It's going to involve looking at slightly different kind of screen or slightly different inputs and outputs. Um, but the kind of the real kind of process around that is the buy-in. So it's demonstrating the value that is going to bring. So the CRM tool is the client portal that was changing. Some of the functionality around it is different but better. So kind of like taking members of staff or clients to a degree through like a demonstration of why you're doing what you're doing and what is the end result of this. And then it's a case of maybe if you're using a prior system and going over to a new one, doing something in parallel so that we could do some testing, so that we can make sure that we iron out any issues. Kind of tweak it to a degree where it's right to go live at that point. And you can just like kill the old system or whatever you were doing previously. So be brave. I always say procrastination is an absolute killer. When we went live with the CRM tool back end of May, it wasn't perfect. It will never be perfect. Like we probably got it to 75% how we want it to be going forwards. And I said to Neill and my team who was running the project, let's just go with it. Send out all the email comms, and we had some emails back saying they couldn't see documents. Some people couldn't log onto the client portal. Somebody couldn't find the app on the app store. And you know what? We batted away probably, I don't even know, like 10 queries over the course of a couple of weeks. And now, now we use it from 75% to maybe 80%. So we've made 5% of kind of tweaks and sort of evolvements as we've gone along in the last month, and that will continue. We will never get to 100%. It's just not feasible because the product itself is always developing. Our processes may change, which might mean that we need to change something in a certain way. But circling back on the original question, it is all about that buy-in, and that kind of delivering the understanding of, you know, why you're doing what you're doing. Because if it makes people's lives more difficult, then again, why would you do it? So and it's difficult if you've got a remote business. Um, getting everyone together, going through a video call, maybe taking people through some training. That's going to be more difficult if you've got a remote team. I'm very lucky in the fact that all of my guys are local. But nevertheless, there's ways and means around doing process notes and handbooks and video training. Like do a video on Loom, record a video and send it to people so that they can see what the system is, how to use it, what the training looks like. That again, that there's ways and means around that as well.
Did you know that Loom does process manuals for you? It
Really?
has an option in there. Yeah, yeah. So they've introduced a new feature there in the last month or so, where you can have different types of Loom recordings, and one of them is SOPs, standard operating procedures. So it'll actually retailor the video, the transcript, and put it into a shape and form and style where it's a how-to guide, which is
Wow.
very cool. Like, yeah, I like
I,
that. So I
I
use Loom as well
I didn't
because it's
realize
pretty good.
that. Yeah, because
Mm.
we're so one of the things that we're going to be focusing on probably towards late summer is around creating an employee handbook for the business. Which you think, well, we've been in business 4.5 years, but it's just one of those things where we've grown so fast. We've never really done it. We've got our processes, we've got our workflows, but actually having a handbook that has all the personal stuff in there, the HR stuff in there as well, is something that we really want to do. So again, using Chat GPT to formulate some of the words, we know what topics we want to cover. And then from a process point of view, like you say, I mean, using something like Loom, that sounds because we use Loom internally as well. So, but I didn't realize it could do that. So that'd be really
Yeah,
cool.
check that out. Okay, pretty cool. So, folks, just to wrap that bit up there, when it comes to training and development, right? Having training programs and resources about the digital tools that you're using, like the handbook, but like the Loom videos or any other how tos, is really important. But you gotta have what's the right word today? You got to embrace constant change and innovation. And what we find is that some of the companies I worked in that had like digital champions or innovation champions or a digital chief officer, just kind of somebody in the business that's like, I'm the tech guy here, and I'm going to constantly look at how we can improve and do what we do, deliver a better customer experience, and help the staff as well. So sometimes how you win at that game is actually developing a role within the business for that, not a lean champion or an innovation champion, or maybe it is actually, yeah, but you get what I'm trying to say. You got to maybe get super users involved. So maybe Jimmy over there, he's going to be the CRM super user, and Paddy over there, he's going to be the account super user. Maybe have a super user team, an innovation team within the business. So that's not you doing it. That's you adopting the business to embrace that culture, if that makes sense. Okay. So Neill, two last things, right? Because we're definitely way over time, but we could go on for hours of this. Actually, Friday, we need to get a beer fridge in the back here, right? You get one, I get one. Because I know in Canada, like, don't they have like beer and afternoon offices? You just get a keg, you start pouring pints in the afternoon. No,
Well, that
never.
sounds great. Actually, after this, I'm going to see Ryan, who was on last fortnight's episode, for a networking meeting, and it's taking place in the function room of a pub. I'm very
Ah,
tempted to get
brilliant.
a pint at 1 o'clock this afternoon, sitting up there doing a bit of networking. Yeah, looking forward to that.
Nice, nice, nice. That's brilliant. Right. Right. Last thing I want to do is the future. The future of digital businesses. Okay. So with all of this emerging technology, we got AI, we got 5G, we got the Internet of Things, we got all of these tools. I suppose the question is, what is the predictions for businesses in a digital world?
I don't know. I mean, you think of how things have developed in the last maybe 12, 24 months, and then how it could continue to evolve. Very briefly, at ZeroCon a couple of weeks ago, Jason Bradbury, I can never say his name, from the Gadget Show, did a keynote speech, and he showed a video of a roller coaster being built in Minecraft, and the roller coaster depicted the rise of technology from, I don't know, like the 1850s, the 1900s, whatever, and it was being built very very slowly, very slowly, and then when we got into the realms of like maybe the millennium, it kind of like took a big curve, and then we were talking about mobile devices and the internet and stuff like that, and it kind of went up a little bit more, and then it got to AI and it just went vertical. So I don't yeah, I mean, who knows?
Okay.
Who,
So my thoughts about this is I've been listening to a podcast about guys talking about digital manufacturing, right? Because I worked in that space for a couple of years, and I just think what the guys talk about is absolutely amazing, right? So the idea of using LiDAR technology to scan a room, and then having somebody put on a VR set to like review the room, and without having to go into that room, especially if it's like a clean room in a manufacturing industry. And simple things like, can we fit this mega machine into this room given the dimensions and sizes, right? Without having to send somebody down with a measuring tape. Oh yeah, by the way, stick on these VR goggles and we'll measure the room and see what we can do. I think this really hits nail on the head what you said at the start. It's about data and how do we utilize and use that data, right? So like little things like, for example, um, estate agents, right? Estate agents, they record what do you call it, a video, don't they? And not only that, you can go and do a VR thing with houses and look around them. I think retail shopping is going to get like that as well. Do you want to book an appointment for a personal shopping experience? Brilliant. Come along and we'll walk you around the shop, like,
mm,
And then I actually think it's going to go one step further, and people are not going to take bags of shopping home with them. They're just going to get delivered. So I think the way in which business is done in the future is going to be heavily dependent on the type of technology and tools that the businesses are deciding to use in a creative, innovative way. And I think that's going to be super, super important. Like I've loads of, well, no, there's a couple of kitchen guys, right? And they spent ages doing drawings. And imagine if they could just get a client around and go, hey, put on the headset here. We're now in your kitchen. How unbelievable would that be to sell a kitchen where the client is actually not only seeing it on the screen, but is actually in a 3D world? So to me, the future of digital business is very exciting. We're in the accounting business. We're about delivering insights and actions about that, and we're getting better at doing that as well. Well, some of us are. The rest of the industry are playing catch up with those dinosaur accountants. With some of them, God has still have typewriters in the receptions. What's going on there, right? So
crazy.
that's my idea. What the future of business is going to be. It's about using the likes of sensors, devices, collect data, use software to collect data, analyze data, and then use AI to advise us. Maybe what's the best thing to do with that data. But we need really good, skilled, trained people who are able to use these devices, use the AI, and understand how to use analytics as well. So the modern business world is starting to change, and it's really important that you jump on that train now. Talk to people like Neill and me. All right, we'll start the conversations about what a digital business looks like and how we can help you build that. And we actually know some really good people who specialize in digital transformation, manufacturing, for projects, for ERPs. So we have a really good network of people that you can lean on there as well. So that's my kind of wrap up and summary. Neill, have you anything you want to add there in the last minute or so?
No, I think you've explained that really well. I just think I'll come back to the point that I said near the beginning, and if you don't use technology in some way, shape, or form, and adapt, then you will get left behind by the people in your industry that are using it. Um, so don't be afraid of it. Be brave, and if you're finding that something isn't quite working, going back to Joanna's point earlier about clients not adopting it, there's several thoughts in my head that says, well, is that the right client for you? Are you marketing it in the right way? Are you using the right technology? Like, do you need to pivot slightly? There's lots of different things to, but at least they're using some form of technology as opposed to those that aren't.
And Kim, yes, Kim, that was your idea for virtual shopping. I did steal it. Okay, it is yours. That's it, folks. We're well over the time. We had our own tech issues at the very start. If you've hung in there, I really, really appreciate it. I really enjoy having these conversations. As you can see, we're not too typical, traditional, stereotype accountancy like about tax compliance and how to retire at 80 years of age with loads of money when you're not fit to walk around. So listen, we are going to be back in a couple of weeks' time. So every second Friday, we're going to nail and confirm the date and the topic. We're going to try and get a few more people in there. In the meantime, please go ahead and submit any questions that you have. So if you're in the Making Finance Facebook group, drop them in there. If you're over on the Irish side of the pond, then check out Ask About Business in Ireland, that Facebook group there. Drop your questions in. We'd be more than happy to answer. And if you want to come work with us, give us a call as well. We'd be happy to have a chat. So Neill, have a good weekend, mate. I believe you have big celebrations to do, and we look forward to that announcement next week. I did see some champagne glasses. So when you said big changes were coming, it's clearly not divorce papers.
Well, it was pink elderflower sparkling fizz because we didn't have any champagne or alcohol actually. So yes, we kind of pretended.
Very good, folks. Okay, we're signing off. Have a good weekend, and we'll catch up with you guys very, very soon. Take care.
See you
Bye, bye,
later.
bye.
Take care.